KP's Video News. KP's Video News, y'all. KP's Video News, y'all. KP's Video News, y'all. Right. KP's Video News, y'all.
The low riding chair.
KP's Video News, y'all.
It's a low riding chair over here, folks. I didn't want it to go down that low. How about that? Yeah, alright, that's good. Alright, folks. It's KP's Video News, y'all. See, I got my red tails in the background. This is video number 500. Video number 500 for KP's Video News. Telling you, man, it's been a long time coming. See if I like it like that or if I like it like this. How do I like it? Alright, I'll wear it Uncle Fred style. Anyway, this is KP's Video News, man, and 500 episode. So I'm gonna dedicate this episode to Ayana War, my niece, and her and her kids. You know, kids over in AZ. This show is dedicated to you, my 500th show, and all the family members, all my family members. 500 episodes, fam. 500 episodes, family, friends, enemies, whoever, anybody that's out there watching KP's Video News. But special dedication to Ayana War. Get well soon. Anyway, telling you, man, 500 episodes. When I first started this whole KP Video News thing, I didn't know that it was gonna last this long. 500 episodes, folks. Quite a few, actually, quite a few more than 500, but some of those early ones I didn't really number, and then some of my music videos I didn't actually number as well. So I got way over 500, but this is my official 500th episode today, and I'm gonna try to do it up right, folks. I'm gonna do it up, and you know, hey, I'm proud, and I thank God for giving me the opportunity to do this, and you know, I thank YouTube for giving me the opportunity to have this format, this platform, this blog, this podcast, whatever you want to call it. You know, I've heard these things called by 1,000 different names. I just call it KP's Video News, y'all. And so I'm gonna get started with this, you know, talking about the Haitian migrants that have been coming across the Rio Grande down there by Texas, man. And I mean, this is really a tragic situation because they are treating those people so bad. I'm quite sure some of you have seen the videos of the what can I call it? These were the first people that had got kidnapped from Africa that were forced into indentured slavery chattel slavery, and but they were also the first. They were the ones that got freedom, that fought for their freedom, and they got their freedom by fighting for their freedom against the French. And ever since they gained their freedom on that island of Haiti, all the European countries, plus the United States and all the other countries around the world that are so-called Europeans, have been vindictive against Haiti, stopping them from making any trade, doing any trade, stopping them from basically stopping them from making any kind of money, stopping them from, hold on folks, I doing my 500 episode and my camera's messing up. Stopping them from making any money, stopping them from trading, stopping them from doing anything to prosper, anything and everything, stopping them from doing anything and everything so they can't prosper. So it's all vindictive. It's all vindictive, and it's all hate-filled. And so, those people in Haiti, they're fighters. The people in the United States, they don't like black people that fight back. They want those people like Steve Harvey and Larry Elders and Oprah Winfrey, those people that bend over backwards to please the so-called colonizers that have colonized the United States. You also have to understand the history that it was already black people in this country before the slave-driving Europeans got here in the first place. The First Nation Aboriginal black Indians were already here, just like you had Aborigines in Australia. So don't let them fool you for a second, thinking that everybody that they consider slaves were actually slaves. They were actually land owners. These people actually had land already here. Black people had traveled all over the world before that whole colonization thing, European colonization started. So, knowing that history, just a little update on what's really going on. So they had that news footage out of Del Rio, Texas, that shows hundreds of migrants illegally, streaming into the United States across the Rio Grande, joining thousands of migrants who already camped out under the international bridge. And the video showed hundreds of people, mostly from Haiti, walking across the dam and enter the United States, and then follow a dirt path to join an encampment under the bridge where upwards of 11,000 migrants were waiting to be processed by Border Patrol agents, up from 8,000 as of last Thursday. But so far they have sent a lot of them back. A lot of them have been rounded up, like I said before, rounded up like cattle, man. But you got to understand, Haiti is an exploited country, and the mistreatment of the Haitian migrants at the Del Rio border underscores the intersecting crisis affecting Haitians, and bad luck got nothing to do with it. It has absolutely, positively nothing to do with it. So Haiti has suffered blow after blow after blow, man. They had 7.2 earthquake earlier this year. They've been devastated by hurricanes. The country's southern peninsula in August, and a tropical storm caused severe flooding days later. And then you had in July, they had the assassination of the president. And the United States, for the United States to send aid to Haiti, but in other words, you're going to send a few trinkets and beads over there. But then when they started doing the assessment, they started realizing, well, a lot of the people that went over there to assassinate the president in the first place were from Florida. This is what the FBI stated. A different Haitian president as a pretext to invade, but the U.S. has already seen assassination of 3 of its own presidents, Lincoln, Garfield, and McKinley, and the real reason for the occupation was economic, fearing the upheaval in the Haitian government might cause them to default on the U.S.-backed loans. The United States ordered Marines to seize $500,000 worth of gold reserves, and the U.S. stayed in Haiti for 19 years, the second longest military occupation in the U.S. history after Afghanistan. More than 15,000 Haitians lost their lives fighting against the United States seizure of Haiti's sovereignty. The memory of this occupation and those in 1994 and 2004 has cast a shadow over Haiti's glorious past as the first nation to permanently abolish slavery. The first nation. Foreign troops again arrived in Haiti after 2010, after another devastating earthquake. Approximately 250,000 people died, and most of them near the capital of Port-au-Prince. During their so-called stabilization mission, the United Nations peacekeepers brought another disaster to the island, a cholera epidemic caused by the improper waste disposal. Nearly 10,000 more Haitians died. Hundreds of thousands became ill as Haitian nationals saw poverty, violence, and corruption increase. Billions in stolen or misappropriated aid funds fueled a legendary industry of disaster capitalism instead of condemning those seeking to profit from a disaster. Haiti's former president proudly proclaimed the country was open for business. For anyone wondering if the earthquake that hit Haiti, Southern Peninsula in August of this year means that the country is cursed, absolutely positively not. The answer is no. Haiti sits on two geographic faults, but the country is geographically fault lines that are also devastating. The 2 centuries, at least across the world, have undermined Haiti's sovereignty and impoverished its people for 2 centuries. This began in 1825 when the country was forced into an agreement with France, 150 million francs as the price of their freedom. Haitian revolutionaries had already purchased with their spilled blood. As history shows, if natural disasters have been deadly for Haiti, so have the human-made disasters. So for 200 years, Haiti has been devastated and undermined by different governments from all over the world, the United States included. So while the Cuban refugees have historically benefited from a blanket humanitarian asylum in the United States, Haitians seeking the same relief have been routinely expelled. Routinely. Just last week, under Title 42, which allows expulsion of migrants for reasons of public health, the U.S. began the process to remove thousands of Haitians sheltered near the Rio Grande, which straddles the border of Del Rio, Texas. And under President Biden, many Central American migrants have, in contrast, been granted entry to the United States. The UN refugee chief has stated that the U.S. government's expulsion of the U.S. migrants is a potential violation of international law, given the current realities in Haiti that could put their lives in danger. And horrifying images of the U.S. border agents on horseback chasing migrants makes it all too apparent that when it comes to Haitians, U.S. foreign policy has never, ever been about helping Haiti. So I'm telling you, man, telling you, brother, they've been through hell. And that one major factor that you got to remember is that they were the first and the only country to abolish slavery. Once they abolished it, once they got their freedom, it was abolished. That was it. That was it. On the other side of the island, which is the Dominican Republic, they've been keeping people in slavery there because they got a lot of sugar cane growing there, and they still have a lot of people in slavery over there picking that sugar cane. So know your history, folks. You have got to know your history. But you got to also understand when public investments benefit, investment benefit black people, white people historically work overtime. They work overtime to stop it, to stop black prosperity. And if you're interested, as Congress rushes to deliver bills to make crucial investments in infrastructure, jobs, and families, much resistance is coming from those who pretend to fret over budget deficits and federal debt. These irresponsible and dangerous arguments about the debt and deficit have been widely debunked. But the roots of the self-styled deficit laws go deeper than policy positions. For over 150 years, they have given a veneer of legitimacy to those seeking to entrench white supremacy at the expense of black and brown communities. Deficit fearmongers stretches back to Reconstruction, right after the Civil War, when white Southern elites sought to entrench their economic and political power after emancipation. When the South saw its first influx of black elected officials after the Civil War, they pursued an agenda grounded in progressive investments in partnership with white legislation from poor areas. These investments focused on rebuilding the South's infrastructure and implementing social spending to support the millions of newly enfranchised black Americans who were emancipated but had few resources for themselves or their families. Southern white elites, threatened by this new political coalition, developed coded rhetoric about rising government debt and excessive spending to justify overthrowing black and poor and white-led state governments across the South. At the time, these attacks were not yet dog whistled, but paired with blatant racist rhetoric, these Southern elites painted government by black people and poor whites as corrupt, stringently corrupt. The South Carolina former secessionist William D. Porter led a taxpayers' convention in 1871 to protest the fearful and unnecessary increase of the public debt, wild, reckless, and profitless spending and excessive taxation. This new rhetoric was a thin veneer for white supremacy. Just 3 years later, in 1868, Porter wrote a letter opposing black male suffrage, saying that the majority black South Carolina, it would mean the superior race is to be made subservient to the inferior. Men like Porter eventually led the way in retaking control of the southern states, instituting brutal Jim Crow laws and regimes, locking black communities into decades and over a century and a half of poverty. In the decades since then, white elites have dusted off the so-called race-neutral debt and deficit rhetoric practically every time public investments that might benefit black and brown people are on the table, from opposition to the cost of the civil rights movement, demands of President Johnson, anti-poverty Great Society programs, to Ronald Reagan's infamously anti-black welfare queen trope. These ideas have become so entrenched in the way we talk about public spending that it's easy to forget their racist roots. So right now, the Republicans and the Democrats in D.C. are fighting over a budget. They're fighting over a budget deficit and a budget ceiling. So a budget ceiling is when you have a debt. Debt is up here, and you have this much money. So if they raise the budget, the debt ceiling, then that will give you that much more money to deal with and balance the budget. So far, it passed the House, but in the Senate, Mitch McConnell and the racist Republican Party are saying they're not going to sign, they're not going to vote, they're not going to vote yes to increase the debt ceiling, therefore forcing the United States to go into default. And once it goes into default, Social Security, welfare, any government people that work that have government jobs won't be getting paid. Any government funding stops. It's going to all stop. So therefore, putting the country lowering the country's debt credibility and basically sending the whole entire country into default. Rather than them voting yes and helping the country get out of this debt, the Republicans are willing to sacrifice and utterly destroy the economy of the United States. Now, when Trump was in office, those same Republicans voted several times to raise the debt ceiling. Several times. This is the first time that they've been asked to vote on this, and already they're trying to throw a monkey wrench into the thing, regardless of how many people, how many millions of people across the United States are going to suffer for this. The whole entire country is getting ready to suffer for this. So when they do this and they vote against this debt ceiling, the Republicans vote against this debt ceiling, and the country defaults, get ready, because the stock market is going to crash. A lot of banks are gonna fold. Oh man, it's just so much devastation that can come from this. I can't explain all of it, but I mean, you're talking about some real major devastation, folks. So anyway, KP's Video News. Got to throw the hard ball sometimes. Got to throw the hard ball, man. Got to throw it. KP Video News 500 episode. Dedication to Ayanna Loreen War. Get well soon, babe. I'm telling you, man. See, this right here, 500 episodes, man, is a milestone. Thank God Almighty for giving me the power to do this. Thank you, God, for that. And I'm going to continue to try to bring you the real news, folks. The stuff that a lot of news stations don't even want to talk about. They don't even want to talk about it because, for the most part, it doesn't affect them. It's KP's Video News, folks. The news for the people. KP's Video News, y'all.
KP's Video News, y'all. KP's Video News, y'all.